Good evening. This side Rahul Magan here is a Group Chief Executive Officer, Treasury Consulting. As we speak, Treasury Consulting is a multinational headquartered group based out Singapore. We are a multinational hedge fund who takes actively positions in US, Europe, and Asia. We also take positions in currencies and commodities. But like I did repeat it many times, we are a proprietary hedge fund. By proprietary, I mean no third party can invest capital in our fund. So be it a venture capitalist, private equity, venture debt, probably another hedge fund, they cannot invest capital in our fund. So whatever positions which we are taking, it is backed up by our own capital. There are millions of people in India, outside India, in US, Europe, Singapore, different parts of the globe are taking positions in options, including me. But 99.99% of these people, those who actively take positions, they are not sure whether they are vertical player, they are horizontal player, or they are diagonal player. So before I move in this direction, let me give you an example of cricket. In cricket, the most important thing is the understanding of your role. Example, AB de Villiers is very clear that he play the shot which is not written in any book of the cricket. And this is one of the reasons why people call him the genius. In a very short span of time, AB de Villiers invented the shots which the young generation of today is copying. But what would if AB de Villiers was not aware of his role? Without quoting any cricketer name, there are many cricketers we have in India, even in Australia, who were misguided by the coaches. End result, they completely destroyed their career. Few were very good bowlers, but the coaches pushed them to be good batsmen. End result, they ruined their career of the bowling. And vice versa. Few were good batsmen, they being pushed to be an all-rounder and they ruined their career. When you are an option player, the same theory applies. So whether you are a vertical player, you are a horizontal player, or you are a diagonal player. So when I say you are a vertical player, I mean you play on the strike price. Because vertical people keep their expiry intact. Which means they never play on the expiry, they play on the strike price. So when they play on the strike price, the right choose of the strike price is very important for them. But implied volatility definitely play a very important role for vertical trader in options. Any option player of the globe, whether in India, outside India, US, Europe, or wherever, if you are a vertical player, you need to have a very good understanding of the implied volatility. But if you do not have, and good understanding and you do not understand the movement of the implied volatility, then you will hardly gain, majority you would lose. Similarly, when you are a horizontal player, you play on the spread. Some people call horizontal as a calendar player also, but I call them as horizontal player because horizontal player keep the same strike, but they play on the calendar. So they play on time. So theta is, which is called time decay, is the most important factor for them. But that doesn't mean that implied volatility is not a factor for them. Implied volatility would always be a factor for horizontal player as well. But for vertical player, implied volatility is most crucial thing he needs to assess. Now comes AB de Villiers of option, which is called diagonal trader. Because like AB de Villiers, he can play short in any direction, and the best cricketing captains, they told on the YouTube and many social platforms that it is almost impossible for you to set a field against AB de Villiers. Because if you set the field on the leg side, he play on the right side. If you play on the right side, he play on the leg side. What to do? So a diagonal player is a player who play with time and with strike price. I personally are diagonal player. Very important thing which you need to have is that you should know what kind of player are you in options. I am very clear that 90% of the time I am a diagonal player. 10% of the time I am vertical player. 1 to 2% of the time I am horizontal player. So whenever I create a strategies for FNO in India or outside India, I make one thing very clear that I am a diagonal player. But unfortunately, when I get the WhatsApp messages of the people call me, they said they have bought so much Nifty, so much Bank Nifty, so much TCS, Infosys and all these stocks, with due respect, they end up being huge losses. And when I ask them, how come you entertained this strategy? They saying, we thought about that and we executed. Then I asked them, are you a diagonal player? And these guys, on the phone completely silent because this is the first time they heard it about that there is something known as diagonal player. So if you are an option player, one thing which you need to understand in a very clarity is what kind of player are you? That's very important thing. Second important thing is the implied volatility. Implied volatility you will get on the NSE website, you get on Reuters, you get on the Bloomberg. There are few free ways on the internet who do provide implied volatility, just like Ticker Tape. Ticker Tape claims they providing intrinsic value, but majority of the time intrinsic value is incorrect. Similarly, there are many free ways we have on the internet who claims that it is, they do provide implied volatility, but without quoting any specific name, majority of them are incorrect. Guys, implied volatility is dependent on realized volatility. That's very important thing. And realized volatility is dependent on historical volatility. So let me give you an example. Suppose Standard and Poor, which is currently around 3,700. You take 5 banks: Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Citi, Barclays. Okay, take 5 banks and just ask them their prediction 1 year from now, which is June 2023, where do they see Standard and Poor? All 5 will give you 5 different figures. Maybe Goldman will give you 3,900, JP Morgan give you 3,800, Morgan Stanley give you 4,000, Citi will give you 4,100, Barclays will give you 4,500. Now it is very difficult to tell who is correct, who is wrong, until otherwise you have the research report and the assumptions which they are using on the table. And even if you have this research report on the table, you need to study it because it does consume time. So people don't study them, they just blindly rely on these reports. Now, what differentiates the 5 assumptions of these 5 banks? Implied volatility. The way JP Morgan sees Standard and Poor, probably Morgan Stanley do not see Standard and Poor. The way, Citi sees Standard and Poor, probably JP Morgan do not see Standard and Poor. So if you're thinking that even on the NSE website, National Stock Exchange website, you will get an accurate figure of the implied volatility, then you are highly mistaken. And this rule applies to Reuters and Bloomberg as well. Implied volatility changes on tick-to-tick basis. And when I'm using a word tick, I'm using a word nanosecond. Nanosecond is 1 by, I think, 1,000 or a 10,000 part of a second. So 1 by 10,000 or maybe more than part of a second is called nanosecond. Implied volatility change as per this. So only system that can take implied volatility on a real-time basis is high-frequency trading. But the basic problem here is that 99% people have no exposure to high-frequency trading. Neither they have any system of high-frequency trading, so this is out of course. We should not talk about that. Now comes the data which is coming on the NSE website. Now, where the data which is coming on the NSE website is definitely delayed, it is not a real-time data. Secondly, it will also delay based on your internet connection. So suppose you are traveling and you are using mobile phone, be it 4G or 3G, internet connection would be weak. If you are sitting at home, you have a broadband speed of 200 Mbps, the internet connection is fast, you continuously press F5, 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 NSE website and internet connection would be fast. Because here you are using the Ethernet of 200 MB, here you are using the wireless internet, and that too when you are traveling. More importantly, the figure of implied volatility which is coming from NSE website, sometimes you need to take the historical part of that as well. And for which you need to maintain the data, which by the way people do not. So guys, when we come to options, we need to have a complete clarity if we wish to be a successful trader. Let it be very honest, is whether you are a vertical player, which means you play on the strike price and time is not a most important factor for you. You are a horizontal player. For him, more than strike, time is an important factor. Or you are a diagonal player to whom time and the the strike, both are important factor. Implied volatility is most crucial for the diagonal trader like me. And I keep tracking implied volatility very closely, even within trading hours, which is 9 a.m. to 3:30, and after trading hours also. And sometimes I try and calculate cross volatility also, which I would discuss later, probably if I get some time. So these are the important things which we need to learn. Probably soon I would be speaking about the crossover strategies. The crossover strategy is a strategy when you have one strategy. Example, you have a bull call spread and market moves completely reverse. You go to iron spreads. This is called crossover strategies. It is good you are an option trader. There is nothing wrong in that. Millions of people across the globe are option traders. But most important thing is you have a clarity. You need to have a clarity what kind of option trader are you and whether you able to judge the volatility factors in a right way or not. Do you know there are three kind of events we have in volatility? Number one is the volatility crush. Volatility crush. Number two is the mean reverting volatility. And number three is the drift. And I'm sure volatility crush, mean reverting and drift you would have heard first time. This is the beauty of our right option trader. This is Rahul Magan from Treasury Consulting Group. You knew my personal number 9899242978. 9899242978.